Good morning, Sangha, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, joining to practice together in this moment. It's heartwarming to see all the hellos from different places in the world and the feeling of togetherness um, dispersed all around the world. So let's continue with our exploration, our practice um, today on Vedana, feeling tone. So for today, the invitations that I will give during the guided meditation are going to be actually very little because I'd like to leave more time for silent exploration because um, exploring Vedana, feeling tone, is actually can be a rather subtle exploration and practice. And sometimes it could feel mixed. Oh yes, there's both pleasant, unpleasant, not sure. But actually, according to Buddhist psychology, there's only one feeling tone with every mind moment. It's just that mind moments go so fast. So some degree of concentration, samadhi, quieting of the mind is required. So the invitation today would be to let the mind settle calm, first with the body and the breath, and then see if you can notice the first moments, which might be challenging, but it's good to have a little bit of a challenge in our practice to see if you can notice the first moments where Vedana, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, arises associated with an object. So you hear a sound, you sense a feeling in the body, there is a thought, maybe there's a smell, or an image. Well, your eyes will be closed, but different sense doors. The moment that the object arises in consciousness, notice if notice when the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, arises, and see how it gets increased or attenuated and what happens later. So being mindful of the process, and ideally the first moment when it arises before it has become I want it, I don't want it, I like it, I don't like it, etc. And sometimes you may need to backtrack, but that is the exploration. And later I'll talk more about why this exploration is so important with respect to dependent arising, the teaching of dependent origination, why this observation, being aware of this, is so important um, for our freedom and ease in the midst of conditions. So with that, I would like to invite you to get into your meditation posture. If you need to sit up straight a little more, to shift, to move, some of you may need to lie down. See what is right for you, what is appropriate for your body. Landing, arriving in this body in this moment. Inviting the center of gravity of awareness to drop down with the out breath into the sit bones, lower abdomen. Inviting your bottom to relax, Give its weight to the chair, to the cushion. Inviting the abdomen to relax, the chest, neck and shoulders to drop their weight into the arms and hands. The forehead feeling smoother, as if massaged. The eyes resting in their socket. For the jaw, maybe opening the mouth wide, comfortably wide, with an out breath. And letting it close naturally. Becoming aware of the upper back muscles, relaxing them, and lower back muscles. Moving down again through the abdomen, the sit bones, the groin area, relaxing all the parts that you sit on, you rest on, and inviting your legs to also land, the legs and feet to fully land, giving up their weight to the earth. Taking the next 3 out breaths to intentionally let go of any tension in the body and arrive more fully. 1, 2, letting go more. And 3, letting go, landing more deeply. And receiving, letting this relaxed body receive as a guest the breath, just this breath right now, right here, not the past or the future. Landing with the breath in the presentness, in the nowness, effortlessly. And allowing yourself, as the body is relaxed, receiving the breath, inviting awareness to be open to knowing, not from the head, the control tower, but an embodied knowing, feeling the feeling tone as it arises with objects of touch, hearing, thoughts, noticing the first arisings. First, it might be very subtle before it gets amped up of the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and what might come after. Wanting, thirst, clinging, aversion, etc. Be open to noticing. with the body relaxed and soft, mind spacious and calm. Can the first arising of the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, be known? And for the last moments of this practice, appreciating yourself and your own wise effort for having shown up, having practiced together in Sangha, for having aligned your intentions with your actions, and letting go of the outcome, whatever happened or did not happen during this practice period. Non-attachment to outcome, and appreciating your own goodness and desire for cultivation, for kindness, for wisdom towards yourself and towards all beings everywhere. May our practice serve us in growing in wisdom, in compassion and kindness, for the benefit of ourselves and others. So, welcome again and again to this moment, to this moment's experience with all that arises in the sphere of being human. So, continuing our exploration with feeling tone, Vedana, which is the second foundation of mindfulness, the second foundation of mindfulness, and a very important teaching. So, according to Buddhist psychology, feeling tone, the simply pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral perception of objects, arise in with every object of the mind. And it's it's one of them in any mind moment associated. So we might sometimes, as one person sent me a question in email, it might seem sometimes that it's mixed. There is some pleasant associated with something. It's also, there's some unpleasant. So my invitation would be to look more closely with a mind that has more settling, more concentration, more samadhi. There's more calm, an ability to see and distinguish. As Vedana sometimes can be quite subtle, actually. And when you see it in its subtlety, your life will never be the same. To see how the mind essentially labels every experience, perceives every experience, kind of willy-nilly on its own, and will explore impersonality or not self or anatta tomorrow with respect to this teaching of Vedana, which is really a way to find freedom, is the culmination of our week of practice. To see that, yes, they're impersonal, they just come and go, and yes, they're our perceptions, our assumptions, our point of view has a lot to do with preconditioning them, but we don't control them, and we shouldn't try to control and change Vedana, unpleasant Vedana, to pleasant Vedana. And that would not be the way to practice with this. That would just be joy seeking, getting on the hedonic treadmill, and it doesn't work. As if we always want to have pleasant Vedana in our experience in life, instead of deepening our wisdom so that there is a sense of ease with whatever Vedana arises, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, instead of always going after pleasant Vedana and avoiding, pushing away unpleasant Vedana. So, so coming back to the thread of the teachings in Buddhist psychology and in Abhidhamma, especially in the higher teachings, that there is a Vedana in every moment of experience with every object. It could be subtle, and also it might be neutral. If it's neutral, we may not notice it. It's harder to notice neutral versus unpleasant or pleasant, as I've mentioned before. If you notice the lack, if you don't notice a Vedana with an experience, notice, is it pleasant? No. Is it unpleasant? No. Oh, maybe then it's neutral. That's one way to tell neutral. But to come back to the question that was asked, there is one tone of Vedana associated with one moment's experience with one object. It's not multiple. It's just that the mind can move so fast between the objects and between these experiences that there could be some pleasantness with one thing and some unpleasantness. You have a memory. Oh, it brings some sadness. Ah, unpleasant Vena. And then, oh, but it's bittersweet. Oh, there's some pleasantness. It was a lovely memory. So unpleasant, 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 so going back and forth. So it takes some practice and settling the mind to be able to see these distinguishings, but it is possible to see them, and it might take more samadhi, concentration, and settling of the mind to see these finer nuances. So what I'd like to continue to explore today is what I'd like to explore today is the teaching on the dependent origination. And the instruction that I shared, which is to notice the first moment of arising of Vedana, of pleasant or unpleasant, the arising of Vedana always precedes the noticing of liking or dislike. And if we can notice the Vedana, the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, before reactions, justifications, projections happen, we can actually have freedom in the midst of them. So let me put up for you to see the wheel of dependent origination. I'll put up a graphic. Let's see if this works. Here it is. And I'll also describe it for those who would be listening to the audio Dharma alone. So on the screen, you should see the 12 links of dependent origination, dependent arising. And as you might have heard, dependent arising, dependent origination, different ways is translated. Paticca samuppada is the Pali word. Um, Dependent arising is a long and often complicated teaching, and much longer for the minutes that we have left. The part I would like to bring your attention to is on the lower part of this circle. So the idea here is that um, by craving, attachment, becoming, clinging, we take birth and death, and the cycle of suffering continues. And this could be interpreted either as a multi-life model, past lives, present lives, or um, present life model, just one life model, so that when we have contact, here down below is contact with an object, when the six senses, bottom right, when the six senses, one of the six sense doors, the mind door being one sense door in Buddhism, besides the five, the usual five, when it makes contact with any object, feeling tone arises. Down here is Vedana. And from that feeling tone, then, if we don't see, notice it, then craving arises. And craving, tanha is the Pali word, often translated also as thirst. And I like thirst because there is this sense of thirst. Oh, really, this physical, this embodied feeling of um, of being thirsty. Of I want it. Oh, it's unpleasant. Oh, I don't want it. Make it go away. Oh, it's pleasant. I want it. I want it. And then um, attachment or clinging is the next step of the dependent origination that arises. Attachment, upadana. There's a sense of, it's really, we solidify, we really hook up, we cling to it, we close our wrist. Craving is a thirst. So the thirst arises, and then we uh, collapse um, our wrist, our hand, our fist, and we just really attach to it. And then we become this being who doesn't like something or loves something or hates something. We become in this life, in this one life model. And then we take birth as a person who does not like this, hates this, suffers, etc., etc. And so and so the wheel continues, even in the one life model. So what's significant here is that, yes, there are many places where this going round and round could be broken. However, it is taught in the classic teachings that the place that is easiest to break the cycle of suffering, the cycle of dependent arising, is right here between feeling tone and craving, between tanha, between vedana, noticing pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, and before it becomes thirst, before it becomes thirst. So this right here is the easiest way, is the best way to notice, and because we usually notice it when, well, either we don't notice, we become, and we take birth in this new birth of greed, hatred, and delusion, which are the roots of all this. But we usually notice much later when it's all solidified into attachment and becoming. But if we can notice earlier, and um, and when you start to notice it, you'll see Vedana everywhere. You'll see it everywhere. At first, you don't see it at all, but then it just pops up everywhere, as in rapid fire. It's you start noticing how the mind is labeling so many experiences with Vedana, with feeling tone. So, um, so for those of you who've asked how to find a copy of this, if you just search on the web for images of dependent arising, different images will come up, and this is one of them. So, a couple of more words to say that evolutionarily, in many ways, we can think that, we can consider that Vedana, this feeling tone, valence, um, has has been developed as a shortcut, evolutionary shortcut um, to fight or flight, for example. However, let's acknowledge and be aware that the way we have evolved, evolution, um, the best into evolution wants us to live long enough to pass down our genes. It's not interested in our happiness or unhappiness. Hence, for example, we all have, as human beings, we all have the negativity bias. We're more attuned to what's negative in the environment than what's good in the environment. So if somebody gives you a compliment, you'll just write it off. If somebody says something a little critical, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. There is a sense of being tuned to the negative. So the same way that the evolutionary, we have these various biases, there's also this bias of not realizing, not noticing the Vedana when it comes up and just shortcut to reaction. I don't like it. I don't like what this person said. In the reactiveness of, oh, it's just unpleasant. It just arises. Holding it with ease is just unpleasant. It's just pleasant. And not to be a marionette, this doll that's has strings attached to its body and it's being pulled this way and that way by all these feeling tones. There are so many of them. They're so for us to actually by contemplating feelings, feeling tone, it gives us an opportunity to bring our conditioning back to our conscious awareness. So, in this way, Buddha's teachings really show us in a brilliant way the underpinnings of our psychological views. And when you see what's beyond them, when you see how the sausage is made, you can go beyond. So, my invitation for today is if you would notice when Vedana arises, perhaps before it leads to the other steps, to the tanha, to thirst, and to attachment, to clinging. So notice if it's possible, or you might catch yourself later when there is thirst already. Let's say, one area you can notice it is sometimes when some subtle sadness comes up, um, we turn towards comfort. We pick up our phone, for example, for some news or some email. Or maybe we think, oh, ice cream or chocolate would be nice right now. Oh, notice there was an unpleasant Vedana that just came before it, And now the mind wants to avoid it, push it away. Yep, let's go towards some pleasant Vedana. We want to have pleasantness, only pleasantness. And that's the recipe for always chasing after pleasant. So thank you, Sangha, for practicing together in this moment in time. And I look forward to practicing together tomorrow with the culmination of our days together, with exploring anatta, not self, the impersonality of Vedana, which is a beautiful teaching, which is a beautiful exploration, beautiful practice just to see. They just arise. I'm not controlling them. Okay. Do I need to get upset? Um, so, so for today, though, the invitation is to notice when they arise and the wheel, the actions that follow. All right. May you be well. Take good care.